G'day everybody, welcome to Fly Fish Live. My name's Josh. Today we are heading over to the USA again, heading over to one of the co-owners of Syndicate Fly Fishing, Mark Longmire. Now before we get over to Mark, he's got some exciting things to tell us all today, and we've got some questions for him. If you guys got any questions out there, make sure you put them in the comments section on either of the channels, and we will do our best to get those questions over to Mark and get them answered. But before we head to Mark, we'll just go through a couple of things. Make sure they subscribe to this YouTube channel at youtube.com fishcoin fly fish live, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more content. And series 2 is coming up very soon. Now we also have a new Twitch TV channel, so it's twitch.tv/flyfish live. So head on over there, give us a follow, and it's going to be a lot of fun on that channel. There'll be other shows come up. You might see me out fishing sometimes as well, so a little bit different content on there also. So head to there and make sure you give us a follow. And now we also have a Patreon page for our YouTube channel. What this is you can become one of our patrons. It's €2, and you can get your Instagram name live on the show every show that we have as a thank you. Also, you'll get Patreon content only, and you'll get updated for when new content's coming out before anyone else. So make sure you head on over to our Patreon page, which is www.patreon.com/flyfishlive. Sign up, and we thank you in advance. But a couple more things: Facebook and Instagram at Fishcoin. So give us a follow there, and also you can go into the draw to win a prize or a couple of prizes coming up in Series 2 if you hashtag Flyfish Live. So hashtag Flyfish Live on all your fish pictures, and you could be a lucky winner. You could be a lucky winner come Series 2. So we'll head over. Won't keep him waiting any longer. We'll head on over to Mark. Mark, how are you, mate?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, buddy. And whereabouts are you over there?
East Tennessee, in the Knoxville, Tennessee area.
Yeah, nice. And tell us a little bit about yourself, mate. Like a bit about your background info. When did you start fishing?
When did I start? So I guess fly fishing around 6 or 7. I had a neighbor that actually gave me a fly rod that he had won in a bass tournament or something like that. He didn't know what to do with it, so he just gave it to me, and that sort of started the journey.
Nice. And how did Syndicate come about? And how long ago was it?
I think we're in our 5th, maybe 6th year. I'm not sure exactly. And I guess how it started is just my business partner, Eric Salage, and myself saw an opportunity within the market here to kind of get our foot in the door, with the goal of lowering the bar to entry for professional level equipment as far as the price goes, because we felt like the more people we got involved, the better it was for the the sport in general and the long tail of conservation of our wild places and things of that nature.
Nice. And now I know on I've seen on your Facebook that they call you architect or something. Is that
that's I think that may actually be part of my title. We don't use the traditional stuffy corporate titles, so I think actually the architect of awesome or something silly like that.
Cool. We've got Connor Cagney come on from Ireland. He said he'll sign up as a patron. Thanks, Connor, mate. We really appreciate it, and look forward to having a chat to you and showing some content outside of these shows. So And got a couple other questions here, Mark. Syndicate, it's growing to be like a big brand worldwide, like in the US and in Europe. Was this your plan, or is it just sort of grown into that?
Um, we don't really base our goals on company size or, X number of dollars that we need to make or want to make. Um, I guess the short answer is we've just tried to build a good product. Um, and then anything else is just kind of a side effect of that. If we do a good job there, then the rest of it sort of takes care of itself in its own time. And we've been comfortable with that pace.
Yeah, nice. Connor's jumped on and said, "Hi, Mark. Hope you're keeping well."
Yeah. Connor's a good guy. Fished with him over here, and I think he was over. We went to Colorado and fished, and then anytime I'm in Ireland, he's there to put us on some brown trout. So the
What?
Cagney clan is good.
Nice. What made you guys get into like rod building? What made you get into the rod
Well, like
building
I said,
side?
we saw an opportunity. I think with what over here we refer to as Euro nymphing, or tight line nymphing or whatever. There just weren't many true Euro nymphing rods in the U.S. market at the time. And we had been fishing that way for a while.
Yep.
Uh, and then the rods that were available, we just felt like it was for a younger demographic maybe. But then the prices didn't really line up with that demographic. So we just tried to get in right in the middle there as far as price goes. And we kind of started with the competition anglers, both here and abroad, which is much smaller here in the US. It's not as big as it is in Europe. So a lot of our business here has ended up being, the recreational anglers as they've gotten online and in the forums and whatnot, and seeing what the competition anglers are doing. And so it finally turned on here. So that's kind of the way we started. And then since then we try to reinforce those products, and then also make 9 foot 9 weights and more traditional casting type papers and things of that nature.
Now, I do believe we had a. I spoke to you earlier. Do believe have you got? Tell us about any new rods you've got coming out, or that you're working on at the moment.
Sure. So we've just received and we'll launch in the next week or two, once we get all of our ducks in a row, the Syndicate Reaver, which is the premium, what we'll call the European nymphing rod, for Syndicate, where Pipeline Pro is kind of our entry level. And then the Reavers got slightly more expensive components, different pre-preg was used for the blank. And we've designed the thing, for tight line nymphing, from the blank to the grip to everything about it. It's supposed to do those things really well. If it does anything else, then that's just a bonus.
Awesome.
I felt like there's a lot of rods out there where they've just decided to make, for example, a 10-foot 3 weight rod, from a series that's been around for a long time, and then they say it's for Euro nymphing. We felt like there's a little more to it than that. So we wanted to create a rod from the ground up, specifically for that type of fishing.
How long's this rod been in the making? Like how long have you been preparing this rod?
Yeah, so our Pipeline Pro, I guess, has been on the market for about 5 years. We've collected, of course, a great deal of customer feedback, which often get asked, who designs our rods, and really our customers do, because we take that feedback and try to integrate it into our product designs. So the Reaver, about 18 months, I'll say, maybe, longer than that, even close to 2 years. So we spent a great deal of time uh, with the rod to make sure it was right.
Nice. We've got Connor Cagney's on here, and he said, "I hope my name's on one of the new Reaver rods, Mark." He said he held the prototype, and it's amazing.
Hmm. Well, we can probably stencil something on there.
Nice, nice. So what's gonna make this rod stand out from the crowd, like from the rest of the rods? What aspects of it do you find
So I
that you
would say
see?
first will be sensitivity. I guess if you're in contact with your nymphs, of course, feel is really everything. It can make, if you're a competitive angler, it can make a difference in your score. You've got to be able to feel that 8-inch fish, as well as the big smash grabs from heavy fish, et cetera, et cetera. It's all about putting points on the board. So sensitivity, we're very utilitarian in our approach. So form always follows function here.
Yep.
Um, so we've, I think, gone the extra mile to really increase the amount of feel that you get through the line, up through the blank of the rod, and then more importantly through the grip on the rod itself. Cork's pretty awesome stuff. It's been around for hundreds, probably thousands of years for tool handles in general, and for all its benefits, it also dampens vibration by its very nature. Um, so
Awesome.
part of it was finding a material that we could use in lieu of cork, to increase sensitivity.
Cool. We've got Robbie on here. He's asked what lengths are available this new Reaver rod.
So we'll match all the current models in our Pipeline Pro. We're launching 2 models here in a few weeks, which are generally the most popular. That'll be the 10-foot 2-weight and the 10-foot 3-weight. And then this spring, we will bring out some of the other models, some of the longer, the 11-foot models. We may do a 10.5-foot model. It just depends on what our customers want.
Yep. Cool. We've got Dave O'Donovan's jumped on here and says, "Hi, Mark. When designing the Reaver, did you have any specific nymphing setup or fly line in mind?"
Um, so it's good. The sport or the niche or whatever is kind of evolved in general. When I started, I had to hand tie basically a Spanish style, leader that when I made mine, I wasn't competing, so there were no rules for me. Mine might have been 30 or 40 feet long, and there may not even have been a fly line involved. It may have just been connected to my backing, and that'll work all day. But we understand that everybody doesn't fish the way we do, and everybody's got preferences. So the Reaver rod, like any rod that we create, gets tested with the Rio competition lines, braided lines, fluorocarbon lines, nylon lines. We want to make sure that it will work with all those things.
Nice. We've got Connor's jumped on again and said he reckons 10-foot 2-weight all day long.
Yeah, that's a popular one, especially with the competition anglers. They want just the light. If I make a 10-foot 1-weight, that'll be the one they all want, as light and as sensitive as possible.
Yeah. Nice. Well, what's your plans for the future and like Syndicate's future?
So we're just slowly creating rod models, I think, at this point. The Reaver stuff, for my part, I finished up design and testing a couple of months ago, so we've just been impatiently waiting for the first production run to be completed. So I've already started on things that'll release at the end of 2021, and I'm working on a premium saltwater or predator type series now for people that like to chase salty creatures, pike, muskie, striped bass, stuff that'll fold a 9 weight in half. Because I do as much of that as from a boat as I do, wading around trout streams and whatnot.
We've got Connor's jumped on again. He said his biggest love for the new Reaver rod is the handle. Did you have a handle there in front of you, or?
Yeah, I've got a grip here. So this is um, pretty cool. So I turned the first one on a wood lathe out of a piece of maple or something like that, and just got it to where it felt right. Um, Part of what I tried to do was I wanted some curve in there so you don't get those hand cramps and stuff after you've been fishing for 3 or 4 hours. Um, uh, and then I just tried to overcome any of the weaknesses, I guess, of course, where European nymphing is concerned. So we've already talked about sensitivity. The polymer we use here is pretty neat stuff. It's used a lot in the aerospace industry. So it's PEI is the easy way to Google it if you want to go research it. It's polyether imide. So it's got a lot going for it. It's first and foremost, it's very UV resistant. So you can leave it in the rod holder on your boat out in the direct sun all summer long, and it's not going to get brittle and crack and fall apart and all that kind of stuff. It's lighter than carbon fiber. It's 3D printable. So after I created the first one out of wood, we laser scanned it and then tweaked it to a SolidWorks 3D model. And now we just print those grips to keep up with production. So some other great things about it, we all worry about the environment and things of that nature. It's totally recyclable. It's biocompatible. They've even got food safe grades of it. There's not any, you're not going to have anything on the boat that would be a good solvent for it. So you can get oil or gas or, chlorinated water or just about anything you can think of to clean it with isn't going to hurt it. You can leave it sitting in your car when it's, I'm in the south of the U.S. It gets pretty hot here in the summer. So when it's 200 degrees Fahrenheit inside your car and you left your rod in there while you're at the pub or whatever, your grip's not going to get soft or melt or, mess up the seats to the car or anything of that nature. And then, like I said, it just passes a lot more sensitivity. There's a lot more feel involved. When we went through the gamut, we tested, carbon fiber, pulled over all different sorts of foam, and then epoxied, et cetera, et cetera. And we just couldn't find anything else that was as durable as this polymer to make the grip out of. Another cool thing about 3D printing in general is when it comes time to physically attach the grip to the blank of the rod, there's no bushings involved because I 3D print. Try to see if you can. I'll get out of the way here and see if I can get that where you can kind of see.
Yeah.
So I can taper that to the size of every blank. So it's got its own bushing built in. The whole thing's basically a bushing. So you're in total contact with the blank all the way through the grip. And it makes a big difference, I think, in feel, especially when your nymphs are way beyond the tip of your rod and you're really reaching across those seams in the river. There's still you still feel those fish, pick up your flies. And there's really not much else out there to compare it to as far as feel goes.
So when are these when are these come? When will they be available?
So they just landed here in the last few days. So it'll take us a couple weeks to, get our crack marketing team behind everything and get it all launched. We will push them out to our fly shop customers first. And then, of course, they'll be available on the website, direct to consumers. And then we'll release them to our industry deal customers and things like that.
So how soon can people pre-order?
Well, people have been messaging us for the last month or two, wanting to know if they could put a deposit on one or pre-order one. I guess we're just old fashioned. We don't like taking people's money unless we're handing them something in return. And we'll probably sell out of them within, my guess is 30 to 45 days on the first batch, but we've already scheduled production runs for the next 18 months. So they'll be dropping, every 30 to 60 days, depending on the season.
Okay.
It'll be about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. As you can tell, we don't have any hard deadlines. We're more concerned of the process and everything being correct before we make them available.
Yeah, we've got Connor's on here on YouTube, and he said, what type of tube is the Reaver coming in, Mark? The same as the Pipeline Pro model?
So we're using an anodized aluminum rod tube for Reaver, whereas we used a nylon Cordua covered tube for Pipeline. Part of that's price point. Obviously, anodized aluminums cost more than nylon tubes do. But we also had some feedback from some of our drift boat guides and lake fishermen that don't like the nylon tubes because they get wet and stinky on the boat, basically. So aluminum tube solves that.
He wants to know what's the estimated time of arrival for Peter over there in Ireland? I think he's pretty keen to get hold of one.
About 2022, I think.
Noah says, hey, g'day Noah. Noah's got a competition on 31st of this month, Halloween special. Should be a good match.
Okay.
Also a shout out Big Tony over there on Twitch. G'day. Hi lads. G'day Tony. We got a couple of questions here on Facebook. Mark Driver, he's come on and said, hi Mark, hope you're well and safe. The grip and rod is nothing but sweet from trying the prototype. Must say the recovery in the rod from casting, hang on. There we go. Must say recovery in the rod from cast set its distinction to the next to none. It will surely have its stamp on the market, he reckons. That's from Mark Driver. Robbie Fellon, I'll pre-order mine from Piscari Fly Fishing. Irish lads are jumping on board. Yeah. We've got a message in from Peter. He said, Peter Driver over there. He said, wants to know, besides fishing, what's your favourite pastime?
Oh, geez. I'm pretty crafty, so I'm building some new kitchen cabinets at the moment. Just anything that involves creating something, in a hands-on fashion, I tend to enjoy. And other than that, I like historical fantasy TV shows and staying out of trouble with my wife.
Nice. We've got a couple of questions more from Mark Driver. Like, how does it? I think you might have answered this already. He said, "How does it compare to the Pipeline?" You find that?
Well, he brought up a point. The recovery of it's still got that mid flex or progressive action that you want in an nymphing rod, but the snapback or the recovery on the Reaver blank is faster because we've used a nano alloy type pre-preg, which helps with that. So the action's slightly different. And we felt like there's two sets of customers out there. Some guy, and a lot of it depends on the average fish size or where you're at, et cetera, et cetera. So Reaver doesn't replace the Pipeline. We haven't changed those rods in 5 years, and we still sell out of the 10-foot 2 and 3 weights pretty regularly. So we're going to keep both models. There'll be two price points, and you've got higher end components on the Reaver, so there's no aluminum on it. I should probably mention that we used commercially pure grade 2 titanium for the reel seat skeleton. No anodizing there. It's just good old titanium. The environment can't do much to it. It's a bit, in its raw form, a bit heavier than aluminum, but it's also a great deal stronger, somewhere around 50 or 60%, depending on the grade. So I can machine it much thinner. And with these long rods and the way reels are marketed and made, we actually tried to make the butt section on the Reaver a little bit heavier, even though the blank's lighter and thinner than the pipeline model. The butt section, if you were just to weigh the two side by side, is a little bit heavier on the Reaver. And the reason we did that is so that you can balance, say, the 10-foot 2-weight with a true 2/3 weight fly reel versus having to, move up to a 4 or 5-weight reel to balance the longer rod. So once you've got your reel put on the Reaver, your overall rig weight or your kit in general ends up being, depending on the type of reel you attach to the rod, right around an ounce lighter than it would be versus any other nymphing rod. And that's because and there's no loose weights or any of that silliness to try to keep up with. It's all built into the rod. And if you'll notice the grip, I've made shorter by a little over an inch than a standard grip. A part of that is it's probably just personal preference. I don't like down locking reel seats. I wanted to stay with an up locking reel seat. And really it's just a lever with a fulcrum. So all I've done is moved your hand back on the blank when you're fishing by a little over an inch. So that achieves all of your balance goals and low swing weight without any magic, I guess, involved. So we're pretty happy with that.
Awesome. Robbie Fellon wants to know what's the actual weight of the rod.
I probably should have looked that up before we got on. I don't know exactly. I know we've weighed them, and we'll include all that on the product descriptions that we send out to the shops and post on our website and stuff like that.
Is there any info on that online?
I do remember when I was just weighing the blank before we added any guides or anything like that, I was very interested in the top two sections. So I know the tip section, for example, on the 10-foot 2-weight was just under 20 grams or something like that. So it's there aren't really any heavy fly rods in the world that I've handled. This is about as light as you can get it in this price point. And then we went through all that trouble, and like I said, and then made the butt section heavier anyway. But the important part is when you get your reel on it, your overall weight of your rig, because that's what you've got to hold up for 3 hours on your beat. The reel is always the heavy part.
Cool. We got a big Tony over there on Twitch. He said you don't have pike over there, do you? We've got pike over here. I'm in Finland, mate. Big Tony. I think Mark's got a similar looking fish, a muskie over there.
We do have pike in parts of the country as well up north. I'm in the southeastern U.S., so it's pretty warm. The only reason we have muskie here is we have some pretty large hydroelectric dams on our rivers and some lakes that are up to 300 feet deep. So they pull water off the bottom of those lakes through a dam and then create a river below it. And so we have wild natural muskie in places, and then we have some stocked muskie as well. And then my favorite, striped bass, when you want to chase 40 and 50-pound fish. They're actually a landlocked saltwater fish that we have plenty of here in Tennessee as well.
Nice. Connor said, surprised you haven't got a glass of whiskey in your hand, Mark.
Yeah, it's still a bit early. I try to wait till lunch for that.
And Noah's come on. He said, you may have already answered this, but how fast is the rod compared to the other rods in the market?
Like I said, as far as where it flex when you bend the rod is going to be very similar. So the big difference in action is going to be in the recovery when that rod gets ready to straighten back out. It recovers a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So the Pipeline Pro is pretty hard to beat. I guess we messed around and did a fairly good job with that. So, like I said, we felt like there were two price points to have. Some people just want to pay more for nicer components, believe it or not. It's not all about utility always. So we wanted to have both. You know, some guys just don't feel right unless they've spent a month's pay on their rod.
Connor's jumped on again, so he needs to get over there and chase some striped bass with you.
Yep. Got to do that in July around here on the fly. They eat 16-inch shad for breakfast, so the flies we tie are about as long.
Nice. Big Tony back on Twitch. Oi, oi, lads. Oi, Tony. Mark Driver again. He's also said the makeup of the rod compared to the Pipeline series. I think you answered that one.
Yeah, so it's mostly components. We've used different pre-preg carbon fiber that involves some nano silica to help us make it stronger and thinner and a little bit lighter. All titanium hardware. I didn't mention the guides. We've used REC components, recoil guides, which are their patented nickel titanium alloy. So those are pretty cool. You can crush the guide all the way down to the blank, then let go, and it pops right back to its original position. And that's great when we have a lot of trees in this part of the country. So when you're trying to walk through the woods with those extra long fly rods, it's nice to not have to worry about breaking or bending a guide on a tree branch or whatever else may be out there. And then, of course, the polymer grip. And then, so it just comes down to components are the major differences. No wood insert for the reel seat skeleton. We've used carbon fiber there. So just tried to make something very sensitive, very durable. And I'll keep going back to the grip. I mean, we even put, flat spots, you'll notice on either side of the grip there. And that's to make it easy to go from this to this, where you can get the tip of your finger there on the blank. So we've even thought about the different ways that people, tight line nymph or hold their rod, which is as varied as anything else as you can imagine.
That's cool. That's really cool. It probably comes to Mark's next question. He says, "What made you build this rod? Is it the world's first purpose-built nymphing rod?"
Oh, I'm not bold enough to say things like that. That's what we built it for. Honestly, that's what we built Pipeline for. But we felt like with that one, you had to be able to, do other things with it. And you can do the same with this. It throws dry flies, dry dropper. You can put a bobber on there if you feel so inclined. It'll do whatever you want it to do. And then you probably get a little more casting distance out of this rod versus the Pipeline, just because it's just slightly quicker in its action. So this definitely was built from the ground up for Euro nymphing or whatever you want to call it. But it does other things well. Also, it's a great. I was in South Dakota, I think about a year ago, in a snowstorm, dry fly fishing. For
In a snowstorm.
Wild rainbow trout up around Spearfish Canyon, and I used a 10-foot 2-weight because the dry flies that time of year, the little mayflies that were popping off were, size 18 and 20s. So I was throwing, I had one of each on my tippet, and the 2-weight's perfect. There's no need for a 9-foot 5-weight to do that kind of work.
Yeah. We got Connor said it wouldn't be a bad way to spend his 21st next July. Come
Yeah.
over there.
Come on over, Connor. You're welcome anytime. You know that.
All right, and we've got Dave O'Donovan. He said, will there be a 10-6 two-weight or 11-foot version?
So we've had a lot of requests for 10-foot 6 length. So I may do that here in the States out west in like Wyoming and Colorado. There aren't as many trees, so you don't have the real tight canopy that we contend with here east of the Mississippi. So out there, they favor the 11-foot 3-weight is kind of their 10-foot 3-weight out west. So I'll probably end up doing both, maybe an 11-foot 3-weight and a 10-foot 6 2-weight. But it's really up to our customers. You know, that's a question I get a lot. Are we going to make a 10.5-foot rod? So sure, if that many people want one, we'll make it. That's about as advanced as our thinking gets.
Nice. We got Phil Hogston here from Norway's buddy who's doing this Fly Fish Live behind the scenes stuff with me. He said, "This is awesome. Well done. Good to see you on Phil. We're actually bringing out a mobile application which won't be far away from sharing this whole thing with everyone. But yeah, good to see you, Phil. We've also got Dave. Also said, what else have you guys got coming out in the near future?
So like I mentioned earlier, I'm currently working on, and I've kind of got the blank finalized for. We're going to market it. Saltwater fishing's big over here. It's a premium saltwater rod. That being said, the action will also lend itself to lake or lock style or low style, depending on where you are. Where you can, it's got enough backbone to lift those big 400 grain full sink lines, out of 20 or 30 feet of water, no problem. And just handle bigger, more predatory fish and stuff like that. And then we're constantly adding new models to existing series. So in the pipeline Pro series, I've got a 9-foot 3-weight, which will launch this spring. We've just finished it up. I've been fishing the prototype quite a bit, and it's great. In Ireland, I think they call it clink and dink. We call it dry dropper here. It's great for that style of fishing. It also makes a really good nymphing rod in places like southern Appalachia, where you're basically, when you're walking up the river, you may be bent over crawling under the tree canopy and not even able to see the sky. So there's just certain situations where even a 10-foot rod's just way too long. You can usually get the presentation made, but then you've got to set the hook. So unless you want to set it sideways just above the surface of the water, sometimes a bit shorter rod helps in those situations.
Nice. Now, what is the meaning of the name Reaver? What made you come up with that?
Is basically to pillage or plunder. I think is a pretty good definition if you were to look it up in the dictionary. So I really, it's funny. I thought about those black cormorants that are probably loathed on the trout streams over there in places like Ireland and the UK and Europe in general. But really, that's what they are. I mean, they're there to reeve the river or to plunder the spoils, and honestly, that's what we are when we're out fishing. Is we're there to catch fish, hopefully. So, and we like to catch them all, not just one or two.
Just everyone's favorite bird, isn't it? Down by the river. The old black cormorant. But if anyone else has got any other questions out there, shoot them through. before we wrap up. Haven't got any on Twitch. And so when are you off fishing next, Mark?
Today would probably be a pretty good day. We've just come off 2 days of rain, but I don't know if my schedule will allow for it today. This is kind of my favorite time of year to fish, just because there's fewer tourists here in our Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, nice. Well, all right. Well, we want to say a big thank you for joining us today and giving up your morning. Once again, I will say I got my times mixed up again, but we sorted it out. And we also want to say a big thanks to Syndicate also for joining us in the first series of Fly Fish Live. It was an honor to have you guys on board, and it was really, really great. And thanks again for your time, and hopefully you can get out there today on the river or the lake, wet a line. But really nice to meet you, mate. And I'm pretty sure that everyone's going to be waiting to see these new Reaver rods. And I'm sure there's going to be a few pre-orders. So,
right.
Thanks again, buddy. And
thanks for having us, and thanks for everybody that tuned in.
Cool. And for people, the website.
SyndicateFF.com.
SyndicateFF.com. So get onto that website and stay tuned for those new Reaver rods coming out. We got Darius Simkus said, "Well done, thumbs up." All right, okay. Let's wrap this up. Once again, thanks again, mate. Stay on the line. We'll get back to you shortly. But
okay,
I want to say a big thanks to everyone for tuning in and watching. And don't forget to get on to syndicateff.com and check out these new Reaver rods that are coming out. They look like they're pretty special. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Don't forget, this weekend we have the match between Noah and Lewis on the 31st of October, Halloween special. And we also have a competition. Get on fishcoinapp.com. It's free to enter. You can win this nymphing line. It's free, worth €49. Absolutely free to enter. Jump on there, chuck your email in, and you could be a lucky winner. We'll announce that at the game on the 31st. So until then, Series 2, not far away. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hashtag FlyFishLive in all your fish pics on social media, Facebook and Instagram. But until then, until the 31st, this Saturday, we'll see you there. And over and out.